Coming up on this episode of the Locked On Bucs podcast, we're going to take a look around the NFC South since the Buccaneers didn't have a game on Sunday. David, what happened in the NFC South on Sunday?
Well, the Panthers lost.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, and thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. Remember, we are free and on all platforms now, including YouTube. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the show over there. I am James Yarko, joined as always by David Harrison. You can find everything that we are doing over at BucsNation.com. Make sure you follow along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarko_Bucs, at DHarrison82, and at Bucs_Nation.
All right, so the Carolina Panthers did actually lose on Sunday in Week 6, and that was all that happened in the NFC South because Tampa Bay Buccaneers played on Thursday. The New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons were both on a bye week, so the Buccaneers get a win and a division foe gets a loss. But on today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about that banged-up secondary. We're going to give our in-depth thoughts, our takeaways from Thursday night's win over the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to hear from some more members of Bucs Nation. And James, let's kick off the show with that very thing.
What up, boys? Manny from Atmore. Hey, man, fire the cannons, baby. We won. I feel like every touchdown they got, it was a Buccaneer favor. I mean, the penalties, we went for it, and fourth and whatever. I don't know what that play was all about. Calling about, man, my boy Howard. Man, I'm excited to see him out there. He got a touchdown in on that fourth and down play. It looked like it was limping a little bit, but he was back out playing and blocking. I'm just excited, man. I'm excited to see him out there. I've been wanting to see what he's going to bring. I'm just hoping that they keep playing him, and I just feel with him on the field, it's going to be definitely different. This big body in the field, and we won, man. Thank you, Sherman. It was good while it lasted. I don't think he's coming back. I don't know. We're back to, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to suit up some cheerleaders to help us in the secondary. We've been talking about it all off season, ever since the season started. I don't know, man. I feel like in order for us to make the playoffs, we got to fix that problem. I know that hopefully everybody gets back to the playoffs, but if we keep winning games, we'll be all right. And hopefully everybody can come back, but just starting to look out there and see what we can get, with now Sherman out. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Just wondering about your thoughts about that. Either way, we take it 5-1, baby. Here we come. Fire the cannons. Go Bucs.
All right, Manny, thank you very much for the call. We're going to get into that injured secondary a little bit, but I did like what I saw out of OJ Howard, David. With Gronk being out, you kind of figured that Cameron Brate was going to be the go-to tight end, and it turned out it was OJ Howard, which a lot of people forget that Howard was their top tight end at the beginning of last season, and he's been working his way back from that injury, but it was nice to see him heavily involved. As far as the secondary, I'll defer to you first. How do what do you make of Manny's comments about the secondary?
Well, yeah, I mean, on the surface, it definitely doesn't look good, right? It's definitely a problem that you want to say needs to be dealt with, but I mean, it's injuries. It's just part of the game, and there's really not a whole lot you can do. I mean, the sports science department is one of the most dedicated and funded and supported elements of the organization. So it's not like they're doing those things, but there are some parts of football that obviously everybody knows. I'm sure Manny knows from years of watching it that you can't avoid those things, And honestly, I thought it was more ironic because Richard Sherman, famously ahead of a Thursday night matchup when he was with the Seattle Seahawks, criticized Thursday night games, said they're not good for the players, they're not good for the game of football. You don't get good football in those games. You get players that are barely prepared, if they're trying to heal from something, you get a lot of injuries. And in that game, he suffered an injury and then told the media afterwards that he pretty much predicted to the medical staff there in Seattle that he was going to suffer that injury during that game because his body didn't have time to heal before the last one. And then in this Thursday night game, he gets hurt again. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe just never play Richard Sherman on Thursday night again. But OJ Howard was very happy to see him, back on the field and contributing. 49 snaps on the offense, played 65%. He was asked on Friday, or Bruce Arians was asked on Friday, rather, if OJ Howard was all the way back from that injury that cost him last season. And Bruce said he's not really all the way back. He's still working to get back. Mentioned his 40 times, that his 40 time isn't what it used to be, and stuff like that. And I don't know if it ever will be, suffering a lower leg, injury or an Achilles injury like he did. But, good to see him back on the field. Good for my dynasty fantasy football team, because I went ahead and I kept OJ on that roster thinking that, once he is healthy again, whether it's for the Buccaneers or somebody else, he would probably be a viable option. It turns out that he's a viable option now. So, if Gronk's not back next week, which I don't know if I would expect him to be back, but we have some time to deal with that conversation later on in the week. I might go ahead and roll OJ out there next week against the Chicago Bears. But getting to that secondary. So Rich Sherman leaves. Jamel Dean ends up playing 100% of snaps on Thursday, 52 of those. And then it's D. Delaney and Ross Cockrell. Ross Cockrell was on the field for all but one defensive snap. And then D. Delaney was on there for 88% of those snaps. So Bruce Arians was asked, whether or not it would be Pierre Desir, whether it would be Ross Cockrell, whether it would be D. Delaney, who's going to step up in that role with Richard Sherman now presumably out. And I mean, honestly, we didn't even have an update on Friday as to the extent of the injury, and we still don't have one as of the time of this recording. Looking to probably get one of those early in the week as we move towards the Chicago Bears. But I mean, Pierre Desir played 6 defensive snaps. He played 12% of the defensive snaps. So I think that kind of gives you your answer. You know what I mean? But honestly, Bruce Arians, when he was asked about, with the depth at cornerback, he really said, he's like, whoever we have out there, we're confident. He mentioned Todd Bowles and talked about the ability of him and the defensive coaching staff to get guys ready. Kevin Minter is another one. Mike Edwards playing free safety for Antoine. So really what this coaching staff has shown is that they have the ability to teach, and that you go back to when Bruce Arians was first hired, that's what they harped on, is teaching. And he is not worried, because no matter who they have out on the field, they're going to have the best preparation they can. And the good news is, losing Richard Sherman kind of sucks, but they have 10 days, right, going back to the night of that injury, to get this team ready for the Chicago Bears. And like you've been saying on Twitter, James, the Chicago Bears will take Allen Robinson out of the game for you. So you don't even really have to worry about covering him, because Chicago Bears just don't know how to use number 12.
Oh, they hate utilizing good players. It reminds me a lot of the Arizona Cardinals and Chase Edmonds. Why bother having him on the roster when you're just never going to use him? As far
James
as
so salty about fantasy football today, guys.
I'm very salty. I will forever hate Jalen Hurts from this point on, because he cost me, about $3,700 in FanDuel. But hey, it is what it is. As far as Richard Sherman is concerned, it's not a, Manny, as you said, it's not a it was nice while it lasted kind of thing. He's going to be back. He said on his podcast that he feels like he'll probably be out a couple of weeks. So you kind of assume he's going to miss the game against Chicago this coming Sunday. He'll probably miss the game on Halloween against the New Orleans Saints. Then they have the bye week. He'll probably be back that first game after the bye week, which is against the Washington football team there on November 14th. So this is not a season-ending injury for Richard Sherman. He's going to be back on the field. It's disappointing that the guy that they brought in to be the reinforcement is now also out, along with Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy-Bunting. But I think, David, what we're probably going to see this weekend against the Bears, it's not going to surprise me at all if we have Antoine Winfield Jr., Jordan Whitehead, and Mike Edwards all on the field at the same time to try to alleviate some of the pressure on a very inexperienced and lackluster secondary, I guess is the nicest way that I can put it, because after Jamel Dean and Ross Cockrell, you ran through the names, not a lot of confidence there. But again, Allen Robinson's going to be taken out of the game by Matt Nagy, because Matt Nagy's a terrible coach. And then Justin Fields has not been impressive.
Yeah. Definitely not looking super comfortable. He's a rookie. It's what you expect. But yet another game, yet another injury, yet another starter. And granted, Richard Sherman is a starter because of the loss of other starters, but still 6 weeks in a row, the Buccaneers have lost a starting player to injury in the National Football League. Most of them defensive players. So that sounds familiar. Something else that sounds familiar, James, is we've got all kinds of devices going on to do everything we need to do. I myself have 5 screens literally within my vicinity right now. Most people have one device that lets them catch the game live. Another one lets them stream their favorite shows, watching sports highlights on their phones, and they've got their neighbors' best friends login for the other stuff. Well, we're going to tell you now about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called Directv Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. It means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part is there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. Head over to directv.com. That's directv.com for more information. Compatible devices required. Content varies by package. Back now for segment 2 here at the Locked On Bucs podcast. Thank you for making the Locked On Bucs podcast your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. James, we're going to get into our takeaways. But before we do that, let's hear another member of Bucs Nation.
Hey guys, this is Yusef out here in Phoenix. So I think OJ Howard listens to this podcast because it was just last week I was wondering where he was. And today he shows up. He plays fantastic. Caught a touchdown pass and caught a couple big passes. So I'm really happy for him. The offense played great. I mean, not a whole lot of, nothing to complain about. So defensively, I mean, it wasn't perfect, obviously, but guys keep going down and the defense just keeps trucking and does what they have to do. And I'm really proud of them. With all the injuries, everything, all the adversity this defense has gone through, I'm proud. And Kevin Minter did great too. So he held his own. Hopefully the hamstring for Richard Sherman is not going to be a nagging thing with this mini bye. Hopefully he'll be back next game, but we'll find out. One last thing, guys, I want to say I'm glad you guys are on YouTube. I'm looking forward to the new bonus content that you guys have been talking about coming soon. I've been wondering about this for quite a while. I just never asked a question, but I'm glad you guys are here now. And it's great to be able to sit on my couch and eat some popcorn while I listen to you guys now. Anyways, guys, as always, not getting too high, but not getting too low either. And as always, go Bucs.
All right, Yusef, appreciate the phone call. Speaking of getting too high, we may have a fairly bold takeaway coming up on this episode here from Mr. Yarko over there in that screen. I almost got it right. That screen over there. So I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you here. The thought of somebody sitting on their couch eating popcorn watching us, James, kind of weird. Not like in a good or a bad way or either way, but just a little bit weird. But we're going to get into our takeaways here. Yusuf, appreciate the call. My first takeaway, James, actually kind of wraps right up into what Yusuf was talking about and what we were just talking about at the end of segment 1, and that is that Todd Bowles should absolutely be the front runner for the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching job at the end of this season because of everything that is happening with this defense. Because, James, you and I have watched a lot of football over the years, and when you watch football and you watch teams that are struggling, what is most commonly one of the bigger problems? It's not always a lack of talent. It's not always a lack of depth. It's usually a coaching staff, right? You talk about the Allen Robinson situation and you talk about the Justin Fields situation even, and it's a coaching staff or a head coach or an offense coordinator, take your pick, that is absolutely refusing to come off their spot, come off of what they feel comfortable coaching and catering to their weapons, catering to their players. What we've seen Todd Bowles doing is catering to his players, catering to the weapons that he has, and he's doing an absolutely brilliant job. So if I'm the Las Vegas Raiders, I absolutely move Todd Bowles to the top of that list. And in that interview process, if we talk about that and how he was able to be successful with this absolutely injury-riddled defense, and he mentions the molding of the scheme and the game plans and shifts and calls and all that stuff to fit the players and the experience level they had within the system, and how he plans on teaching his junior defensive coordinator and coaches to do the same thing, and even offensive coaches to follow that same mantra, then I absolutely offer him that job. Because the other top candidate, right, Eric Bieniemy out of Kansas City, the offensive coordinator there, honestly, and I had just watched or just covered Kansas City Chiefs game because they played the Washington football team this weekend. They're trying to do the same old thing. They're trying to say, this is the Chiefs offense. This is what we do. Doesn't matter that Tyreek Hill is hurt. Doesn't matter Travis Kelce's hurt. Doesn't matter that we don't have Sammy Watkins. Doesn't matter that we don't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We're going to go out there. We're going to do what we do because that's what we do, and we're going to make it happen. That is the exact same stubborn attitude that gets struggling teams in trouble year after year after year. Tell me why you don't agree.
Because I do not appreciate the fact that you're trying to speak this into existence.
Okay, well, that's different. Yes, I don't want Todd Bowles to leave, but you're shaking your head. I'm thinking you think I'm wrong here.
No, I'm shaking my head because I don't like that this is your point, and it's a good one. The only thing that I will say to counter this point is he could be the front runner for the job. There's no question about it. But I still think, and we talked about it months ago when Todd Bowles got his new contract and he's the highest paid defense coordinator in the league, all that. I still think there's that wink, wink, nudge, nudge, handshake agreement that he is the next head coach of the Buccaneers. And I think out of loyalty to Bruce Arians, loyalty to all the other members of this coaching staff, that even if he's offered the opportunity to be the Las Vegas Raiders head coach, he might turn it down. I realize that's a really difficult thing to do because there's only 32 of these jobs. He had one, but it was a terrible situation in New York. So it would be really hard for him to turn down the job. But once Gruden was or resigned, I even talked to you about it. The top three candidates immediately are Todd Bowles, Eric Bieniemy, and Byron Leftwich. I mean, that's just that's honestly what I believe. So I hope it's Eric Bieniemy because I don't want Todd or Byron to go.
Yeah, same. I just to clarify, I'm saying that he should be the top candidate. Not saying I want Todd to leave. So good points.
All right. Well, my first takeaway, and I would recommend people going back to the week that I was at training camp, and I talked about this on our show then. I wrote about it for Bucs Nation, and then I continued to talk about it leading all the way up to the season. Antonio Brown is becoming the number one receiver on this team. That's what this boils down to. Antonio Brown has played one less game than Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. In those 5 games, Antonio Brown has 52 targets. Mike Evans has 49. Chris Godwin has 46. Because of Antonio Brown's versatility and the things that he could do that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, not that they can't, but they don't do as well, Antonio Brown is becoming the number one guy for this team.
Yeah, I mean, as much as there is a number one guy on a Tom Brady team outside of Randy Moss from that option or that year, absolutely agree with you. And, it's funny because we were having this conversation. There were some people genuinely upset that anybody would recommend or even suggest that Antonio Brown might be a little bit higher up on the pecking order, not on the, even talent level or anything like that, but just on the pecking order here in Tampa Bay in this offense. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding and what you see on the field. And it's absolutely true that AB is one of, if not the first guy that Tom is looking for every time he drops back.
Yeah, and if I was going to pick the Antonio Brown of Built Bars, I'm going with peanut butter brownie, but not everybody's going to agree. And some people might be offended that I didn't pick coconut or coconut almond, but you can check out a whole bunch of flavors if you head over to built.com. Coconut almond, cherry, raspberry, mint brownie, peanut butter brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel. There's something for everyone. If you don't know what your favorite flavor is, if you don't know what your Antonio Brown Built Bar is, you can get a mixed box and get 2 of each of those flavors. Those bars are going to have 17 to 18 grams of protein, 130 to 180 calories, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you're going to get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of coconut flavors, but listen, for coconut, Built Bar does it pretty well. I'm just not a huge fan of coconut flavors, but I am a fan of football, James. You know this, and I'm also a fan of gambling. You also know this. So I had to reload my betonline.ag account because I made some bad investments and they turned a little sideways on me. Thanks again, Tennessee Titans, for that one. Appreciate you.
I had to cash out.
Congratulations. Over at betonline.ag, because it's their number one spot for myself, for James, and for you. to play pro and college football games, betting games this season. They've got an all new site interface, updated odds, contests, props, everything for your number one source for football this season. Head over to betonline.ag, sign up if you haven't already. When you make your initial deposit, use a promo code Locked On, and you will get a 50% welcome bonus on that first deposit. Whether it's football, basketball, boxing, or your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait. Take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Wrapping things up here on a Takeaway Monday, Takeaway Tuesday on a Monday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. James Yarko, David Harrison. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel. Subscribe over there. David, this was the one that you kind of hinted towards when Youssef called. Youssef, it's time to get too high. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right after this voicemail.
Yes, this is Mark J. out of Albany, Georgia. First time caller, long time listener. And I just want to say, it's no such thing as a ugly win or a pretty loss. A win is a win, and a loss is a loss. And we got the W tonight, and I take that. And I don't know when the last time we could say the Bucs was 5-1, so that's an accomplishment of itself. Go Bucs. Have a good night, guys.
I'm not sure the last time the Buccaneers were 5-1, but it has happened 3 other times in franchise history. It's been a while, but it has happened before. And the reason that they are 5-1 goes right into my takeaway. So Youssef, finish chewing your popcorn. I don't want you to choke when I say this. The Buccaneers are the best team in football, period. They are the best team. And I don't care that they lost to the Rams. I don't care that the Cardinals are still undefeated. I don't care that the Bills look like an unstoppable force. David, I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
Yes.
Would the Arizona Cardinals be 6-0 if they had lost Isaiah Simmons, Byron Murphy, Antonio Hamilton, Robert Alford, Budda Baker, and J.J. Watt?
Absolutely not.
No, they wouldn't.
Not even close.
Would the Bills be mowing over people and shutting every offense that they face completely down if they didn't have Tre'Davious White, Levi Wallace, Micah Hyde, Teron Johnson, Tremaine Edmonds, Jerry Hughes, and Dawson Knox?
No, absolutely
No,
not.
they wouldn't. But what are the Buccaneers doing? Without Carlton Davis, without Sean Murphy-Bunting, they lost Jamel Dean for a game. They've lost Richard Sherman. They've lost Gronk for 3 weeks. They lost Antoine Winfield Jr. for 2 weeks. They lost JPP for 2 weeks. They're still winning.
Mhm.
Those other teams, whether it's the Bills, whether it's the Cardinals, whether it's the Cowboys, who all of a sudden know how to play football again, the Kansas City Chiefs, we can come out and say it. They stink.
Yeah, they're not good.
Whether it's the Green Bay Packers, it doesn't matter. If any other team in the National Football League faced the injury adversity that the Buccaneers have faced, they are not 5-1. They're 3-3 at best. So the Buccaneers are still the best team in the National Football League because they are so talented, they are so well led that they are overcoming injuries that nobody else can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they're doing it because their defense coordinator is doing a masterful job of coaching, which is why he's going to get a head coaching offer from the Las Vegas Raiders this offseason.
Speaking
And listen, if Kenyon Drake may not be with the Raiders by the time that happens, Josh Jacobs is definitely there, and he's a good guy. But you always need a number 2, right? And I think that they're going to have one available, whether it's the Raiders or somebody else if they want one. And that guy is going to be Buccaneers running back Ronald Jones. He is not going to be a Buccaneer next season, James. I firmly believe that Ronald Jones's days in Tampa Bay or with Tampa Bay are very, very numbered. I don't think Rojo is happy about the decrease in usage. He very recently went on Twitter and kind of voiced his displeasure at some of the things being said about him out there in the public space. But, look, it is what it is. He's being outplayed and very clearly outplayed by Leonard Fournette. And when you look at this running back room, you've got Fournette, you have Rojo, Keyshawn Vaughn, all those guys, Giovanni Bernard, by way of the 1-year contract. They're all on contract years. So you're not bringing all 4 of these guys back because you can't afford to pay free agent prices for all 4 of them. They're going to have to let some guys go. Now, it's possible Leonard Fournette prices himself out. And if that happens, I don't know. Do they bring Ronald Jones back? I don't know the dynamic inside that room. But honestly, this almost kind of has a feel like a Jameis Winston situation where you have Rojo, who got here with Cutter and with that staff and was kind of put on the, well, not kind of, but was put on the bench there his rookie season, and then basically kind of publicly made it known that he just wasn't mentally catching up with the NFL game. Then he got his opportunities there in year 2, and then Bruce Arians comes in. He gets some more opportunities, but then he kind of loses them. I just don't see him being willing to put up with that. I think what he's going to do is he's going to go out there, look for a team, look for an opportunity, kind of like Peyton Barber did, go look for a team that's going to give him the opportunity to earn some snaps, or maybe even is going to be willing to guarantee him some snaps. And I don't know if that's actually the Las Vegas Raiders. It's just a connection I can make to my previous takeaway. But I mean, I just, and that picture, I mean, again, look at this picture, James. Tell me that is the picture of a young fella saying, man, I love my organization and I cannot wait to come back next year and do this all over again. And you don't want to put words in people's mouths. So I'm not saying that Rojo is frustrated or anything like that. He's a player for a reason. He wants to be on the field. He wants to play, makes plays for his team. You see he is running hard when he gets his opportunities. But again, barring injury or Leonard Fournette forgetting how to play football at the level he's playing at right now, I don't see how Rojo gets another chance here. And if your options for the Bucs are to re-sign Rojo at the amount it's going to take to bring him back, or re-sign Keyshawn Vaughn and then draft a guy behind him, I think that's the route you have to go.
I will double down on your takeaway, and I will say that Leonard Fournette's not going to be back either. Like, the only running back that
I don't have a Leonard Fournette picture. I didn't see that one coming.
The only running back on this roster that's going to be back next year is Keyshawn Vaughn, and that's because he's still on his rookie deal. Gio's going to be gone. Lenny's going to be
I didn't know Brady was retiring. Is that what's happening?
Really?
James White's coming? Is that what you're saying?
No, that is not. No, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. This might be the year that the Buccaneers actually take a running back in the first round, because they might have to.
It's interesting.
Leonard Fournette is going to get a bag in the offseason if he continues running like this. Now, could Jason Light, sprinkle his magic all over it and do like 16 voidable years and spread out a Lenny
Bobby Bonilla deal?
Yeah. Absolutely. They could do that. But I don't see them continuing to push that money down the road, because eventually it will catch up and eventually it might end up costing people jobs. So, yeah, Leonard Fournette is running so well. He's the clear number 1. We've talked about it for a few weeks now. We are a pro Rojo podcast, but he's not getting the job done. So he's going to want to likely going to want a fresh start, going to want the opportunity to, get a breath of fresh air, play somewhere else, be the top guy. I think the running back landscape on this team is going to be vastly different next year.
Could be interesting. Could be. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing I was going to mention too. I mean, yeah, Leonard's running really well, and he could definitely go out there and secure a pretty penny if he wants to in the offseason. He might just price himself out. But I still, even with that scenario, I agree with you. I don't think Rojo comes back either. And then you're left with Keyshawn Vaughn, and then I don't know who. I guess we'll have to listen to the Locked On NFL Draft podcast to find out who the top running back is in this year's class, because I don't know who it is right now.
Yeah, I could not tell you right now who it is. It was probably going to be that kid from Iowa until he, no, was it Minnesota that was going off on Ohio State in that first week, and then he got injured late in the game. Like, that kid was going to be a stud. I don't know what his status is going to be now.
Spiller from Texas A&M has a lot of buzz around him, and from what I've seen, I haven't watched every Texas A&M game. From what I've seen, I like that as well. But I mean, the good thing is, and we're kind of falling into old habits. Usually by around Halloween, James, we're having to talk draft picks for the Buccaneers. The good news is we have a few months before we need to do that, so we'll have time to catch up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because right now the best team in the NFL still has regular season Lenny that will turn into playoff Lenny, that will turn into Lombardi Lenny, that will turn into boat parade Lenny, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
And you all can be here for this show over on YouTube. It's free and available on all platforms. And we thank you for making the Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. Now, make your second listen the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It is also free and available on all platforms. We would like to thank those of you that called into the show. If you would like to do the same, make sure you send us a voicemail at 813-444-5841, or you can send us an email to lockedonbuckspodcast@gmail.com. Stay tuned. We have some bonus content coming later today. If you're listening or watching on a Monday, very, very special show coming up with a little bit of a bonus for all of our wonderful listeners. But you can also check out everything David and I are doing over at bucksnation.com. Follow along on Twitter at LockedOnBucks, at JArco_Bucks, at DHarrison82, and at Bucks_Nation. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, be good to one another. We thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucks.